This will serve as an introduction to the Iliad and the Odyssey. Now for third grade, One-Eyed Giant, which is an introduction to the Odyssey, is on separate books or separate slide presentations. That's the Odyssey. The Iliad, the adaptation that we're using, is Black Ships Before Troy. Both of these books are on the exemplary list for North Carolina. One-Eyed Giant, of course, is a third grade, and the Iliad, or Black Ships Before Troy, is a fourth grade. The Iliad is an epic or a long poem about the Trojan War, which was written over 3,000 years ago. The Odyssey is an epic or long poem about Odysseus' 10-year voyage home from the Trojan War. The war lasted a decade, which of course is 10 years, before he even started his return trip home. The word Odyssey means a long, difficult trip. One of the main characters in the Odyssey is, of course, Odysseus. He is the king of the Greek island of Ithaca. He is a very wise man who uses his wits to solve problems. Penelope is his wife. Telemachus is his son. But Agamemnon is the king of all Greece. A gentleman named Homer is the person who created both the poem, the Iliad, and the Odyssey. It's the first known work of literature in Europe. Homer was a blind poet in ancient Greece who lived about 3,000 years ago. When we get into the reading of the novel Black Ships Before Troy or One-Eyed Giant, they will talk about a string musical instrument similar to a small harp. It is called a lyre. Homer played a lyre as he recited his poems, and there's a picture of that right there for you. We've talked about the Trojan War. It is set in the city of Troy. The Trojans were enemies of the Greeks. A prince of Troy kidnapped a Greek queen. Troy was thought to be a legend until archaeologists found the ruins in 1865. If you will look at this map of ancient Greece, you will see that Ithaca, where Odysseus was king, is on the western coast. So also, or southwestern coast, is the city of Sparta. And over all of the way to the east on the coast of Turkey is Troy. So what's important to know here is that in order for the Greek soldiers to fight the Trojan soldiers, or to get to Troy, they had to sail all of the way around the country of Greece. Mount Olympus is the highest mountain in the country of Greece. It is sometimes referred to as the mythical home of the 12 major gods. We've talked about some of those before, and some of them you will hear mentioned in these two stories. In ancient Greek mythology, the Titans were Greek gods who lost a war with the Olympian gods. Titans lived on Mount Orthrus. The first generation Titans included Mnemosyne, Tethys, Thea, Phoebe, Rhea, and Themis. And the males, or the men, were Oceanus, Hyperion, Coeus, Cronus, Ceres, and Iphitus. And here we have a great chart that compares names in English to names in the Spanish language, which again will be explained later. We've spoken about the 12 gods that lived on Mount Olympus. Zeus was the god of the sky and thunder in the ancient Greek religion. He ruled as king of the gods on Mount Olympus. He could throw bolts of lightning, and he was very jovial, and jovial means cheerful and jolly. Hera was one of the lady gods. She was the wife of Zeus, and he was the king of Olympus, so she was the queen of Olympus. Athena, another female goddess, she was the goddess of wisdom and war. She was Zeus's daughter, and she was the patron god of the city of Athens. Athens is a city in Greece, of course, and that's where she gets her name, Athena. Aphrodite, our third Olympus goddess, is the goddess of love and beauty. She's often shown with an apple, and Aphrodite is a very feminine or female name. The goddess of discord, or keeping things stirred up, disagreements, arguments, her name is Eris or Discordia. And the word discord means when you argue with people a lot, or you create arguments with people. And so she's the goddess of disagreements, arguments, and dislikes. Here in the picture, she is throwing an apple down to the partygoers. Discord, again, is a disagreement. Her opposite goddess is Harmonia or Concordia. Harmony means together, and concord means agreement. So they are the opposites. Eris and Harmonia do opposite things. Now you might wonder why we study any ancient Greek stories, and interestingly enough, the ancient Greek myths inspire authors today to write fiction about the gods and the goddesses and so forth. Authors like Percy Jackson and the Titans. It also influences movie and TV characters, Hermes, Eris, Hades, all of these kind of things. And the picture to your right with the snake is a medical, and I think you've probably seen it in hospitals or on ambulances. So there's a lot of influence that the ancient Greek stories have on our culture even today. And we've talked before about tools that artists and authors use to make their writing more interesting or entertaining. And one of those things we've talked about before is a simile. A simile uses the word like or as to make a comparison. Okay, like in the man was as brave as a lion. So they're comparing the man to a lion, and they're talking about how brave they both are. Her stare was cold as ice. They're comparing the way she's staring at someone, and it's like ice. It's like there's no feeling. That's simile. But remember, similes have to have like or as. Metaphors also make comparisons of different objects, but they don't have to use the word like or as. And as you'll notice in these examples, fog comes in on little cat feet. Fog can't move like it's got little cat feet. So that's the comparison, because when a cat walks, it's very quiet. Envy crawled into his heart. The word envy means jealousy. But jealousy crawling into somebody's heart, that can't happen either. But it gives you a comparison to how something moves, or the way we think it might move. The first part of the word personification is person. When an author uses personification, what they are doing is they are giving human characteristics to animals or objects. And the examples here are the car was happily going along. I don't believe a car can be happy because it's not living. It's not a living thing. The tree stood proudly in the park. Trees really, they don't stand. They sort of, but they don't stand like people, and they can't stand proudly. From the time you were very small, you learned about rhyming words. Words that rhyme have the same ending sound. And in the examples, as you can see, rain, Spain, Maine, and plain all rhyme. And that sentence says, the rain in Spain falls mainly in the plain. And the other example, we do the early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise. So healthy and wealthy rhyme, and rise and wise rhyme. Alliteration simply repeats the first sounds in words over and over, as in Sally sells seashells at the seashore. All those S sounds. fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth a new nation. Those are also examples of alliteration. Score and 7 have the same beginning sound. Fathers, fourth, have the same sound, and new nation. That's all alliteration. So as we get ready to read Black Ships Before Troy, you need to recognize some of these literary characteristics that authors use, and remember that our vocabulary words will be introduced on a beginning slide, and then they will be highlighted in yellow.